let's talk about the 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the 4 seed Indiana Pacers, Logan. I am extremely excited for this matchup, more so definitely than I am for Celtics Knicks, because I think that this one should be more competitive and interesting. And specifically, these are just two phenomenal offenses. These were the top 2 offenses in the first round of the playoffs by offensive rating. So we know that we're in for a shootout between these two teams. So Logan, I want to start with the Cavs. How do they try to slow the Pacers' potent offense down? And do you think they're capable of doing that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think the Cavs are really well equipped to slow down the Pacers' offense. Now, that's what's so interesting about this series, man, is I think the Cavs have the personnel, but like the Pacers can throw such a potent punch on any given game. I really think a lot of these individual games could come down to which team shoots better from behind the arc or whose bench performs better. A few of these games could be decided by that. The reason that I'm so confident in the Cavaliers being able to disrupt Indiana is specifically because of their front court tandem of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and specifically the number 2 and number 3 on most given nights for Haliburton. Haliburton's partners in crime are Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner, and I just think Allen and Mobley are really good deterrents for them. Now, look, Siakam and Turner both got theirs in the regular season. These are only 2 games, mind you. The numbers that I'm referring to against Cleveland, because the final 2 games were basically like B teams for Cleveland. So in 2 games versus the actual healthy Cavs, Siakam put up 21, 8, and 3, and Turner gave you 16, 8, and 1. I think to beat Cleveland, those guys are going to have to produce a little bit better than that, but Allen and Mobley are great defensively, and I think they can actually disrupt both of those guys. Mobley can guard in space on either of those guys. He's one hell of a rim protector, and Allen is one hell of a rim protector too. So I think a lot of the easy offense that Indiana is able to generate, Cleveland can really throw a wrench into. If it is Siakam and Turner individually in these matchups, or if it's a guy like Obi Toppin, who gave them really good minutes last round, I think the Cavs can do a really good job of taking some of those shots away. That's where I really look at Mobley as the difference maker and X factor in this series, Carson. Like, offensively and defensively, man. I don't look at a player on Indiana being able to hold him. I think he's going to dominate on the glass. I think he's going to wreck the game defensively. And I don't think the Pacers have a good answer for him offensively. And so this is a really fascinating series, man. But I think Cleveland is probably more well-equipped to slow down Indiana, I'd say, than anybody else in the field in the East, save Boston. Because I think Boston's just got such a wealth of defenders that they can go to. But if there's anybody else that I believe in, it's definitely Cleveland, man. I think they're going to make life harder on Indiana than anybody has in the past 2 years.
It is definitely hard to slow this Pacers offense down no matter what, though. Like, that's a real challenge for anybody. And they've just been playing phenomenal basketball for a really extended stretch now. They are 45-19 since their slow start to the season. They've been a top 7 offense in that span, and obviously we just saw them absolutely shred the Bucks defense. I do think that Cleveland is significantly better equipped to deal with the Pacers on the defensive end, because everything starts with the Pacers offense, with their pick and roll attack. And can you do anything to keep them remotely in check? The Bucks were not capable of that, especially when Brook Lopez was on the floor, because he was a slow-footed true drop big, and they were just able to exploit him out in space and manufacture a bunch of great looks from beyond the arc. The ideal pick and roll coverage against the Pacers is to be able to switch everything, because then you can force Hallie to try to beat you as a scorer in isolation, where he's not as great as he is when he's just picking apart drop coverage and he's consistently finding the bigs popping and he's getting to his floater and his pull-up three. He's so comfortable doing all of that. And you're taking away the pick and pop looks for Miles Turner especially, but also for Siakam. And those guys are great jump shooting bigs, especially Turner. Like, that is his bread and butter offensively. If you can force them to beat a switch against somebody who's actually capable defending, especially for Turner, like, that is a much more effective counter to him defensively. Siakam is a great mismatch attacker, so you have to be able to get a decent body on him for that to be functional. So I would start putting Max Strus on Hallie. I think that this is probably a series in which Strus is starting again over DeAndre Hunter, although I can see the case for starting Hunter because then like there's basically no advantage off switches for the Pacers, because if Hunter is switching on to Siakam, well, he can really defend in that matchup. If he's switching on to Turner, like this is a 6'8" forward with really good tools. But Strus, I think, can still do a decent enough job on those bigger guys off of switches, and I do think he's more equipped to deal with a guard like Hallie on a possession-to-possession basis. So that's where I would start. And the really key component for Cleveland executing this scheme defensively is that Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are really good switching bigs. They are both very comfortable guarding out in space, especially Mobley is one of the best bigs in basketball guarding in space. I will say, we just saw in the last game that Hallie played him toasting Giannis off the bounce, off of switches. And although Giannis has certainly regressed defensively, that's still one of the more high-end defensive bigs guarding out in space in the NBA. But I think that you're always better off trying to make Hallie beat a big, good athlete one-on-one than, again, letting him pick you apart out of drop. And I think it's going to be really, really important that Hallie gets his three ball going because he can get by you. But as we've talked about, he's not always super confident in his ability to finish in traffic. He's going to look to facilitate if he does get by you, and he's going to create good shots for others. But with a guy who can move his feet like Mobley in space, he might try to get him to give him a little bit more of that cushion and then see if he can hunt the step back three, see if he can really get that pull up three going. That to me is what I would expect Hallie to be hunting, and he's got to shoot better than he did last series for that to be really effective. So I definitely think that they have a better counter for the Pacers pick and roll attack than the Bucks did by far, because they can actually switch everything with their best personnel, whereas like the Bucks had to go to Bobby Portis, they had to go to kind of their bench group to be able to execute that even functionally, and still they didn't have as good personnel as the Cavs do. The one weak point for Cleveland defensively is Darius Garland. In any matchup, but especially if you are running a very switch-heavy scheme, I think you have to put him on Andrew Nembhard, and I think that when Nembhard is running pick and roll, you're not switching everything, and you're playing drop, and you have Garland late switch to get out to the three-point line if the big pops, and then you're potentially going to have to like force the big to beat Garland from the perimeter, or if they just reset and they try to get the big post position, then you may have to double and scramble, try to switch back really quickly. Like Garland is going to present problems for them defensively no matter what. And my goal is just to hide him as much as possible and not immediately concede a switch to the bigs because it's just too much of a size advantage. And especially Siakam, he's so good at exploiting that. So Cleveland, they've got excellent backline defenders with their two bigs, but the biggest key against Indiana is containing the ball to begin with, because the drive and kick game, especially with Hallie, like that's when they're at their best, making the extra pass, finding open shooters, moving without the ball and moving the ball. And you have to not concede those outright mismatches as much as possible. If that is for Hallie out on the perimeter, or if that is for Siakam off a switch, I think Cleveland can do a pretty good job at executing those two objectives. And you talked about the Pacers front court and who they are going to be dealing with as their matchups. Like, I really think Siakam is going to have to do most of his work in this series, either in transition or off of switches, because I think he's got a really difficult individual matchup in Evan Mobley. I think Mobley's going to do a great job on him when they're just matched up straight up.
I just wouldn't attack Evan Mobley. I mean, he's the defensive player of the year. I think any switch you get on him, I'm passing the ball. Just like that's not even a...
Even for Hallie, you're not trying to get by him.
He's swatting that shit. I don't know if Hallie's... I know Hallie's got a good step back and release, but with that set jumper, I just wonder if he's going to have enough time to get it over those long arms of Mobley. And Mobley's a really great defender in space. So, yeah. But Hallie is the guy that I look at for Indiana. Obviously, Haliburton's the star of the team. He's the guy that's going to have to go above and beyond in this series to make it happen, because I do think he has the key matchup on the other end that he can exploit, and that is Darius Garland in single coverage, and that's who I'm attacking if I'm Indiana, and that's who I'm attacking if I'm Boston, if we're looking forward to the conference finals. Garland is the guy that I'm going at repeatedly over and over again, and that's why I think it's important that Hallie stays aggressive in this matchup, hunts his shot, continuously. Like, I don't know how easy it's going to be for anybody else. And Indiana's a really good system. They're good at relocating off ball. And like you said, the drive and kick game, the ball movement, it all moves in tandem. But everybody else is a really good defender on Cleveland, save Mitchell and Garland. And that's why I'm attacking both of those guys. But Haliburton is the guy to me that can get to those step-back jumpers, that can get to those runners in the lane, that little intermediate mid-range area. He's the guy that I trust the most to create and generate his own looks in this series. And I don't know, man. Like, I think for the Pacers to win this series, dude, I think that the Pacers get super hot shooting from behind the arc. I think you need all hands on deck. I'm talking Nembhard, Siakam, Turner, flame throwing behind the arc, Nesmith, Mathurin, everybody. Ben Shepherd, nobody's missing. And I think Haliburton needs to give you is 27 too ridiculous of a number? I think it's going to have to be really,
that's a big number,
really high for Hallie to. I'm at least saying bare minimum 25 plus.
Wow.
At the minimum for the Pacers to win this series from Hallie. And I think that's a lot to ask.
I do think he absolutely has to be better as a shooter and scorer in this series. Like, he was phenomenal as a playmaker, creating for others in round one because, again, he was just exploiting Brook over and over again. He was doing a nice job of beating switches with his quickness, not to score, but to play make. All that stuff was great, but with how much I expect Cleveland to switch and with how capable their bigs are guarding in space, like, Hallie is going to have to be more of a consistent scoring presence. And personally, I would definitely be more inclined to try to get that Jared Allen switch than the Mobley switch. Even though Allen is good guarding in space, he's not as great as Mobley is. So I do think that Hallie is the key player for the Pacers in this series. I do think that they're going to get theirs offensively, but like you said, I think that the Cavs are going to be even harder to stop. So how do you feel about the other side of the ball? How can Indiana's defense try to slow the Cavs down, and is that possible?
No, I don't think it is. I think this is going to be too overwhelming for Indiana. Really, it is because of the drive and kick game for Cleveland in this aspect to me. Cleveland's offense is so good. All the contributors play so together. Like, one, we can just start with the individuals. Mitchell and Garland are a handful to deal with in isolation by themselves. Garland's one of the quickest guards in basketball. If his pull-up three is going, if his floater is going, like, he's just a tough matchup to deal with individually. Mitchell, by himself, we all know how hot he can get. He gets to the rim effortlessly, and when his pull-up three is going, he's super hard to stop. So those guys are problems, period. Then you get to Evan Mobley, and Mobley is a handful to deal with now in single coverage because, like, he just, to me, has such distinct athletic advantages against Indiana's bigs. I don't know how they slow him down. I think he's quicker-footed off the dribble than both of them. I think he could get by Siakam and Turner pretty reliably, but he's also longer and more athletic than both of those guys, where I think he's going to win box outs and get to easy looks off putbacks and on the offensive glass. And I think he's just going to be able to get by them and over the top of them for shots at the rim. Now he can space the floor, too, which is going to drag Siakam or Turner away from the rim and open up everything else for everybody in the middle. But the biggest problem to me, Carson, is the collective. It's all the shooting that Cleveland has together, and it's the ability for all of these guys, after the advantage is created, to attack closeouts and get into the lane that then puts everybody in rotation and opens up stuff on the back end. If that's catching shooters or if that's guys in the dunker spots, because I don't like Indiana's rim protection either, where I could see Allen and Mobley feasting really efficiently under the rim with easy opportunities. And again, it's not just Mitchell and Garland. It's Ty Jerome off the bench who can manufacture you some shots. It's Max Strus giving you some supplementary ball handling. It's DeAndre Hunter giving you the tertiary ball handling. Like, it's everybody that can kill you on this team. And Cleveland's been the best offense in basketball. That's the point I don't want to undersell. It's like Indiana, I think, can go blow for blow, can go buck for most of the game. But Cleveland has the offense that I trust more. And they got the defense that I trust more. That's a huge imperative point of this. But I just do trust Cleveland's offense to churn it out, to keep going, and to never stop. And they're just one of the toughest offenses to stop in the NBA, man. It's really as simple as that.
They are statistically one of the greatest offenses that we've ever seen. They were a top 10 relative offense in league history this season. Then they went out and put forth the single highest offensive rating we have ever seen in a playoff series. They are one of the greatest pick and roll attacks that we have ever seen. So they are the best offense in basketball, and it's going to be a major, major challenge for the Pacers to offer any resistance. I do want to give credit to Indiana for their improvement on the defensive end this year, where they've gone from a group that was, I think, 24th in defensive rating last year to being really solid this year. And they have good point of attack defenders. Like Andrew Nembhard is a solid matchup for Darius Garland.
Nesmith
He's
is
going to pressure the
solid,
ball.
too.
Yeah, Nesmith is solid too. But Nembhard, he's quick, he's feisty. I'm just not sure how uncomfortable he can actually make Darius Garland because he doesn't have that elite size and length. Nesmith, I also think, is a decent matchup on Mitchell, but he's not quite quick enough for me to love him in that matchup against a guard as explosive as Donovan Mitchell. And when you think about what Indiana does at a high level defensively, it's really their ability to pressure the ball. They bring more ball pressure than basically any other defense in basketball. Maybe Minnesota brings more. Cleveland might be the best equipped offense to beat that, though. Like, their entire offense is captained by two phenomenal ball handling guards who have great quickness. So they're just not going to be bothered by that ball pressure. And now maybe they're even beating you down court, and now they're able to get into some early offense. And then they've got another guard in Ty Jerome who can come in and lead the show and is also extremely, extremely potent offensively. So they were a phenomenal offense versus the press this year. I just don't think that's going to bother them. And I just really don't see Indiana being able to contain those two guards much at all. And that kickstarts everything for the Cavs offense because they have two of the best offensive guards and two of the best pick and roll creators in basketball. And when they are consistently getting downhill, they're obviously going to fry you as pull-up shooters as well, especially Garland. But then they're able to really create phenomenal three-point looks for excellent shooters all around them. The Cavs are one of, if not the best cutting team in basketball with great play finishing bigs. So, like, if the guards are going to be comfortable, the Cavs offense is going to be dominant. And I think the guards are going to be comfortable in this matchup because this offense is just special, man. Like I mentioned, elite shooting all around. The Pacers create a lot of good looks from three, and they have a lot of good shooters, but it's on another level with the Cavs. They were top 2 in threes made, and they were top 2 in three-point percentage this year. And in their first round series, they just made 19 threes per game and shot 44% from deep. And like, yeah, that's a crazy shooting series. But when you have Garland and Mitchell and an improved Mobley and Max Strus, who is a weapon, and DeAndre Hunter, who's a 40% three-point shooter, and Ty Jerome, who's an elite three-point shooter. I don't think Sam Merrill plays a ton in this series, but he's an elite shooter. Dean Wade is a good shooter. Like, they just have so many weapons. They do have even more offensive firepower. They do have even more depth. Like, I think that favors Cleveland. That's a rare thing for Indiana to not have the depth advantage. But as good as their depth is, like, even Cleveland's quote-unquote bench units are still going to include multiple elite basketball players because of their minute stagger. You're always going to have one of the great guards and one of the great bigs on the floor. And then their bench players are really, really good. They have one of the best and deepest offensive supporting casts that we've seen in a long time. So if I'm Kenny Atkinson, I would count on my top 7, specifically a little bit more than he has. Like, even last series, he was going straight up 10 deep. There's a couple guys who I'm not as inclined to play as much in this series, like Merrill because of his defensive limitations, like Okoro because I don't trust his offense as much. But their top 7 is phenomenal. Like, I would lean even more into Hunter and Strus just eating up those minutes on the wings because I think that they are so good really on both sides of the ball. And I think that Kenny can just play his best guys a little more than usual. Like, he's been playing his best players 30 minutes per game end to end this year and going 10 deep consistently. Like, this is a series where he can play his best guys 34, 36 minutes a game. And he can still go 8 deep with awesome basketball players. And, I just think that they're going to win the minutes for the most part with all of their different lineup combinations because they have so many different great lineup combinations. Like you said it, man, there's just a lot of little advantages that Cleveland has that amount to them being pretty clearly the better basketball team. Like, I
And
trust
all
their
their
clutch
players are
offense even a little bit more.
all their players are so versatile too, man. Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of one-dimensional players in Cleveland. Like
Not at
if
all.
you can shoot the guy can normally play make a little bit or attack a closeout, right? Um, like Ty Jerome and Strus, that's what I'm saying. Like, even if they're not creating the initial action on ball, like if they're attacking a closeout, both of those guys are smart enough and good enough skill-wise. They're either going to get to a good look or they're going to dump it off to a big. Or, if it's Mobley now, like Cleveland really is like pick your poison, man. Do you want us to have an easy look in the lane or do you want us to have an easy look from three? Because we're going to generate one or the other. Cleveland's damn good, man.
Yeah,
like they
crazy.
are. And I'm telling you, I know we've said this, but if Boston has another down series, I really think they're vulnerable. Like Boston, again, let me be clear about that because I don't want that to get misconstrued. I think Boston has to play really below the level that we expect them. But if that series goes 6 or 7, the Celtics series, I think they're susceptible, man. The Cavs are that good.
Oh, yeah. Boston's got to be sharp offensively because Cleveland's offense is just going to be dominant in any matchup. I mean, it's just an insane combination of elite creation and elite play finishing, both in terms of shooting and at the rim. So I think that they have the better offensive personnel. They have more star power. They're deeper. They have the better defensive personnel. They're better on the boards. They were 12th in rebound rate. The Pacers were 28th. Cleveland's going to go double big a lot. Part of the Pacers being so low, I think, is they normally just really don't crash the offensive glass. But still, Cleveland is the better rebounding team. They're the better team on both sides. And if I had to identify a key player for them, I guess I'll go with two. I think it's the bigs. I think that they really set the tone for Cleveland in a number of ways in this series. Like, I do think they really have to dictate the glass because that should be an advantage for Cleveland in this matchup. But they weren't a great defensive rebounding team down the stretch of this season. So they've got to win on the glass. The bigs are crucial to your entire defensive game plan because they have to really defend well on switches. I'm saying their defensive game plan. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm certainly expecting them to be switch heavy in this matchup. And then I think that Mobley's really important offensively because he's got to keep stepping into and hitting threes, and he's got to be comfortable attacking mismatches when he gets them. I have faith in the Cavs checking all of those boxes, and I want to be clear, I'm saying the Cavs are better in all these areas. I don't expect the Pacers to get blown out in a single game in this series. I just think their offensive floor is so high, and their depth is still so good. They're just so reliably great, especially offensively. I think we're in for an awesome 6-game series, but it would be disappointing for the Cavs if they lost this. Indiana's really good. I do think they're the third best team in the East.
Oh, I mean, it would be a monumental disappointment. It would be a meltdown is what I would consider it. Indiana's a really good team. I mean, it would be crazy for them back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals appearances like this. I mean,
so good for the Halley agendas. Oh, my God, we'd be eating.
Phenomenal.
We'd be feasting.
But I think Cleveland's way better. And like you said, I am going to take this to be a shorter series because of my faith in Cleveland, but I think all of these games are going to be really close into the fourth quarter. So I'm going to take, and I'm disappointed because I wanted to be a little bit spicier with either of these predictions, but I'm going to take the Cavs in 5.
Wow, that's interesting. It's hard for me to pick anybody to beat Indiana that quickly. I don't know. Their offense is just so great that even though they lost to Boston in a sweep last year, all of those games were so close, and they didn't have Halley for 2 of them even. I think
this is This is more of a respect thing for Cleveland.
I love it. Listen, man, I love Cavs respect. I think it's insane that a team won 64 games and had a top 20 net rating in NBA history, and everybody wants to go out there and call them the 2015 Hawks or slander them in whatever way. Cleveland is phenomenal. They have been a part of a tier that is well above everybody else in basketball end to end this year with just Boston and OKC. And I'm very, very excited to see what they do in this series. But I'm also excited to see what the Pacers do because I love them. And I think these are 2 great offensive teams, which means we're going to have a lot of really, really fun games in this series.